Alright, so most of you guys know, if you've been watching the channel, I've been using this bipod lately. This is an Atlas Cal BT65 bipod with an Arca/Picatinny clamp on it. So I wanted this bipod, number one, because it wasn't too terribly expensive, and two, it's got that clamp where I can go on both my Arca rail or I can go on a regular Picatinny rail. But as you can tell, this one has a little bit of wobble to it. That never really pleased me. I guess it's probably made to preload, but if you just, basically if you take a look at it, it's pretty flimsy, right? It's pretty rattly. You can see how it's moving around. I even upgraded the feet, paid a lot of money for these aftermarket feet, and just never really was all that pleased with it. It is super duper easy to deploy. If you just push that button, the feet will pretty much slide into place. The weight of the feet will. But I guess that's, in my opinion, that's one of the problems with it. These feet are too, or not the feet, the legs are too loose here. So if I just push that, notice how that will just slide right down into place. I guess that's a good thing for deployment, but again, this little bit of rattle never really pleased me. Also, CAL stands for can't and lock. And in my opinion, this would never get tight enough to truly lock. You could get it to where you could barely move or cant the rifle, but it would never truly lock. So I've just never been pleased with this bipod, and I had a friend come over and he had an Accu-tac. So luckily he ended up with an extra one and sold me one. So what we're gonna do is talk about why, if you want something nice and stable, you should go ahead and skip the Atlas and go for the Accu-tac. Now, as you can see here, I've got this one already mounted up on my 6GT. This is the WB-4 bipod. So I believe that stands for wide base because it's got a little bit wider base than the standard Accu-tac bipod. So it is now mounted up on the gun. This one is only Arca. It's got a quick release Arca clamp, which is really nice. But I can't go Picatinny on this, which is kind of a pain, but I've already got the other one, so whatever, right? Now, the thing about these is they are super duper sturdy. So if you look, there's almost no wiggle in that leg, and you have to pull down to adjust that leg position. So I think that's why there's less play. It's spring loaded, where it kind of is almost seating there. The other thing that's nice about these is all you have to do is pull down on the legs to get them to extend, where on our Atlas we have to activate that with our fingers to pull down. Now this Atlas has a little bit more range as far as height goes, but they're almost the same height if you look at the specs. The other thing is this one here, it is very easy, in my opinion, to get that to lock down to where it will not. If you notice, that really will not cant at all. Now if I loosen that up, right, I would like to run it about there where I can cant it if I want, but then it will hold its position. So what I like to do is get the rifle level and then kind of just lock that into place. This one seems to be a whole lot more stable as far as locking. Now they both have interchangeable feet, so that's really a non-issue. But in my opinion, if you just look at the two bipods side by side, this is a lot more sturdy, a lot better bipod as far as shooting off stable positions. Now if you want quick deployment or something like that, maybe the Atlas is the way to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one off the gun. We'll take a closer look. All right, so it's pretty simple to pull this off the gun. Just go ahead and release that quick release, and then that will just slide right off. All right, so now that we've got that pulled off the gun, we can take a closer look here. So on top, we've got our Arca quick disconnect rail, which seems to be of high quality. Obviously, we've got the made in USA there, which is always nice. And then again, we've got the different leg positions, so we can go forward at 45 degrees, or we can go all the way up out of the way forward, and then I believe we can also go back at 45 degrees. So we can go back at 45 degrees. Now the one interesting thing about this one is we cannot go back at whatever, 90 degrees or whatever. I mean, it'll go there, but it won't hold. There's no position there, which that's a little bit of a pain because I used to keep the gun in the safe like that, but I suppose I'll get used to it. So back at our 90 position, we've got, like I said, our extendable legs, which all you have to do is pull on them. We get our max height there, which I believe is just about 8 inches. You'd have to double check their website. I guess maybe I'll throw up the specs there. And then obviously if we need to come down, all you have to do is push this button and it'll just drop straight down, which that's really nice as far as if you need to go up by 1 notch and then you decide you don't, you can push that button and come down a notch. Turning the bipod around, we've got our cant and lock feature. So loose right there. Obviously we can cant both ways. Got a pretty good range of cant there. And then I like to run it kind of like I said, kind of tight, because with the weight of the gun on there, you can still cant, but it'll still hold its position. Now this one's got quite a wide base, and we almost have that where the center of gravity is lowered by this size here, and I'm really a big fan of this. I shot off this one time now, and it just feels incredibly stable compared to my Atlas Cal, which is kind of the thing that I always disliked about the Atlas Cal. It just never felt stable enough. Again, the cons of this are it's probably not as easy to deploy. You have to pull down on that and then move, which when it's on the gun, it's a little easier. And I'm guessing as it gets broken in, those springs will become a little bit lighter and that'll become a little bit easier. We've also got our changeable feet, which those basically just thread right on. And these are just the basic rubber feet, and they seem to be doing the job just fine right now. Don't know if I'll upgrade to the spiked feet on this one too. I really don't necessarily love the spiked feet because when I set it on a bench like this, then I'm gonna damage my bench, which is kind of a pain. So as we compare that to our Atlas Cal, again, almost the same features, right? We've still got our positions of our legs, which it's a little bit easier to get into those positions because you basically just push that button. But again, once we get into those positions, we are still, I don't know if you can see that there, but there's a good little bit of wobble there, and really don't like that. So as we go into our positions, you just push that button, and again, there's that little bit of wobble in both legs. When you get this on the gun and you're sitting there, it seems like it promotes a lot of this side to side and stability, which was one thing that I really did not enjoy about this bipod. Again, I talked about the cant and lock. I don't feel like you can ever truly get it locked. But I mean, if you just look at that from there, you see how much that's wobbling. That's going to obviously provide issues inside of your shooting system, and that's going to create a lot of wobble. That has nothing to do with my aftermarket clamp. That's just purely the design of the bipod. We have to pull the legs out just like this, which I never found it to be a huge issue, but I can see how it'd be a little bit easier to deploy the legs on the Atlas. We have just a little bit more height range on this one here, which could be helpful, but I don't think it'll become an issue with the Accu-tac. So overall, I guess this is a decent bipod because it's cheap, right? It's only $200 or so, but I don't know. This to me just never really felt like a good system, never felt like a good stable system. So at this time, this is the one I would recommend. The Accu-tac, not necessarily specifically this model. You may find the model that fits you best. But again, there's almost no wobble in this system. And for a stable shooting platform, that's really what you need. So hope you guys found this important or informational. Like I said, I wanted to make it because I made a video about the Atlas Cal, and it was an okay bipod. I think it does the job, but I really think that it's worth spending the extra money on something like an Accu-tac. Now, I've never handled a MDT SkyPod, but from what I have read, it seems like the Accu-tac is the most stable platform. Maybe not the most mobile or adjustable, but definitely the most stable. So, hope you guys enjoyed this comparison video, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for subscribing.